This is the Nightmare mod, more like a nightmare to download. There's over 100 add-ons going to this one collection. The total size of this entire download is 5 gigabytes, and the worst part of this collection is that there is a Google Drive link that gives you the complete version because apparently the Steam version is outdated. The Steam collection already transforms your game. You really don't need this Google Drive link. It is quite a commitment though, since the mod literally prevents you from playing other game modes. You will inevitably uninstall this mod pack. And if you ever want to play it again, I hope you have good internet. And the mod is only 5 gigabytes, which isn't too much, but a couple of months ago it was only 3 gigabytes. Who knows, the mod will probably continue to grow in size as the creator continues to add more slop to it. And as more and more mods get added, the longer it will take your Left 4 Dead 2 to load the add-ons. I have to wait a minute every time I open the game, which is just enough to annoy me. You could bypass this by moving all of your add-ons in the workshop folder to the add-ons folder, but that's just
not worth it.
Especially if you already have a ton of mods. On top of that, Coldstream and The Last Stand are trashed on by the mod creator, so they are not in this. Except they are if you just simply play those maps through the console. There are also different variations of the mod pack, none of which I played because I'm not as masochistic as some of you may think.
You must have lost your mind.
And that's pretty much it for the workshop page. It's a personal collection, but it's more like a nightmare collection, hence the name. Anyway, let's get started. If you haven't noticed from watching the footage, this mod alters the gameplay and look of Left 4 Dead 2 heavily. I'm talking game-changing additions which will force you to adapt whether you like it or not. Weapons, ammo, the infected, items, and many other changes were made that I will get into. But first, let's talk about the weapons. Shotguns are not as good as they used to be, because witches can no longer be crowned, though it's not because the shotgun can't crown the witch, you still can, but the witch aggroes so fast in this mod that getting close to her is just not worth the risk, especially since a special infected can be around the corner to interrupt your crown attempt. On top of that, the mod creator nerfed the witch's health, meaning you could just easily gun her down with other weapons from a safer distance. Look at the ammo for this weapon, and compare it to the SMGs and assault rifles. Like, there's no argument to be made. The shotguns just need more ammo. On the other hand, sniper rifles have been buffed. Sure, they don't have much ammo, but they are amazing at killing witches, who in my opinion are your biggest threat. Also, I actually really like what this mod does to the bolt-action rifles. They're good because they have such high damage that it makes up for the slow firing speed. I think one of them even staggers the tank per shot, way better than the base game. In fact, I think snipers are the best weapon type in this mod. They one-shot every special infected, two-shot the witch, and does a lot of damage to the tank. And the common infected can easily be dealt with your secondary, because they have way less health in this mod. And then you have melee weapons, which are kind of weird. None of them one-shot zombies anymore, but their attack speed and range has been increased, so I guess it balances it out. I would still prefer if they one-shot though, because all of the other weapons one-shot. Yes, even the SMGs one-shot zombies, on Nightmare difficulty, which is the equivalent of Expert. Why do melee weapons get the short end of the stick? And on top of that, the mod removes the limit on shoving, which completely botches the melee weapons. Like there's no reason to use them now. Not like it matters since the best secondary is clearly the Magnum, which has infinite ammo and one-taps all special infected. The infinite ammo is especially helpful, since you're not going to get a lot of ammunition in this mod. Ammo piles are single use, which is bonkers, and there are also ammo packs you can deploy, but that's it. The tier 3 weapons are just bad. The recoil on the grenade launcher is ridiculously high for some reason, and the weapon only has 7 shots. What is even the point of using it? To be fair, it one-shots the witch, which gives it some value, but not enough. Because the way the grenade launcher is right now, you only have enough ammo to kill witches, and maybe tanks. Give it 12 shots, maybe then it'll be good. The M60 is a little better, but it also has a lot of recoil, so much that you have to actually move your mouse down to fire straight ahead. The muzzle flash is blinding with this weapon, but at least it has more ammo than a grenade launcher. You wanna know the problem with the M60? Every weapon besides the pistol's one shot, which makes using the M60 less appealing. Obviously, it's still there, but it's not special. You know what I mean? The only benefit you get now is the fact that you don't need to reload. But that's like, come on, not a good enough reason to drop my primary. There isn't much to say about the assault rifles. They're about as good as they are in the base game. Same with the SMGs and pump shotguns, though it's worth noting that unlike the tier 2 weapons, tier 1 weapons do not slow you down as much. Yeah, holding out certain weapons affects your character's movement speed, CSGO style. Not really a fan of that change. Overall, the mod rebalances all weapons, but in my opinion, I feel like it just made the game more unbalanced. The mod also changes the items as well. Pipe bombs are now just bombs, similar to Vermintide 2, designed to be thrown at tanks to knock them back. I like the idea, but that doesn't change Molotovs and bottle jars being superior, which are still the same from what I know, except you can throw bottle jars at your teammates and even yourself. Defibs have been nerfed pretty hard. When you revive someone, they come back black and white and with little health. That is pretty dire, but that doesn't really change the fact that defibs are still useful, even more so in this mod. They no longer replace your medkit as well. Instead, it replaces your pills and adrenaline. Speaking of the adrenaline shot, they are amazing. They last 20 seconds, you reload faster, and apparently you can use it to revive a survivor. The only thing it doesn't have over the default adrenaline is preventing common infected from slowing you down when getting hit. That's because the mod creator removed that entirely, which makes rushing a viable strategy. Still, the adrenaline shot acting like a mini speed cola is a great idea and is something that should honestly be in the base game, in my opinion. Those are the items and weapons, but the mod doesn't stop there. It changes so many small things about the gameplay, like your character stumbling. You will stumble from taking fall damage, getting scratched by a special infected, being shoved by a teammate. And you know how people like to jump before shooting a boomer to prevent the stumble animation? Well, that no longer works. In fact, if you fall at all during a stumbling animation, you will do a second one when you hit the ground. That is beyond annoying. Getting pounced makes you drop your weapon. Reloading disregards all of the bullets in the magazine. You start with a flashlight instead of a pistol. Weapon pickups are single use now. The level design is different in some chapters. You can deploy laser sights. You can move while incapacitated. You shoot faster while down. You can friendly fire your teammates while down. In fact, friendly fire damage in general has increased exponentially.
Can't blame me for that.
So much that you can actually one-shot a survivor with a shotgun if you wanted to. It's realistic, to be fair. There are just so many changes that it's too much to go over. Just know that this mod is unlike anything you have played in Left 4 Dead 2. I will give it that. But what I will not give this mod is its sound design. You know, the sound design in Left 4 Dead 2 is something that I've taken for granted. Every special infected has a distinct sound along with music to make them identifiable and easy to understand. This mod just wants to remove all of that and instead have extremely quiet special infected who attack at a moment's notice. The goal of this mod is to reinforce the horror of Left 4 Dead 2, but there is nothing scary about being charged out of nowhere or being pulled by a smoker who takes you off the map with no sign or signal. If anything, I find it to be funny. The game becomes a confusing mess.
Dead silent. I mean, how am I supposed to...
There are so many times where you will hear all these new sounds and you won't even know what it is. It took us 5 campaigns until we got used to it, but even then we were still confused by what was happening sometimes. And that's because of the lack of communication from the game. To make matters worse, the mod removes all survivor dialogue. At first, this confused me and I was wondering if this was another attempt to make the mod scarier, but I found out that the dialogue irritates the mod creator, which is why it's included in the pack. Okay. The dialogue may irritate you, but it also acts as a communication tool for the player. The survivors call out special infected or items. They also call out when they go down or when somebody gets pounced. Removing it makes the game even more confusing than it already is. Items are no longer highlighted. Special infected are silent. The survivors are silent. Everything is silent. Everything is so dark. Survivors die for no reason. It's really just a confusing and frustrating mess. I don't see how anyone can have fun playing this. I mean, it's fun at first, but it wears off quick. At least for me. If you want to have any idea of what is going on, you have to turn on closed captions, because at least then, you'll know if a special infected is around the corner. I just found out about this, but apparently you can mark items. To be fair, that is a good addition. It's just such a shame that I didn't know about it. Still though, the mod is undoubtedly confusing. And the atmosphere doesn't really help. Without the flashlight, this mod is as dark as Cry of Fear. Look at how dark the Last Stand campaign is. I can literally see my own reflection through the monitor. Apparently there was a bug that dims the brightness. I don't think I had it, but the game was still stupidly dark. I get that it's meant to make the game scarier and produce an uneasy feeling. Darkness is an effective way to invoke horror, but to me, not being able to see very well is more frustrating than scary, especially in a game like this. Smokers are way more threatening now. Not only are they silent, but now they get the advantage of hiding in the dark. Thankfully, the mod doesn't go out of its way to make the maps that were already daytime into night, though it could have, since there are maps on the workshop that do just that. I'm honestly kind of surprised these maps aren't on the list. Hey, don't get any ideas, mod creator. Keep it the way it is. Besides the darkness, I do think the mod's atmosphere is well done. The music is fitting, the sounds you hear are just right, and the reskin special infected do fit surprisingly well. I gotta say, Cry of Fear is doing a lot of the heavy lifting with the atmosphere. Even on the daytime maps, you can still feel the nightmare atmosphere, which is good. So I guess I can't complain too much. The mod had a goal, and it achieved it. I'll admit, the mod does feel like a nightmare.
What?
I've gone over some of the enemies in this mod, but there is one thing I've kept a secret until now. The Nightmare Pack adds a completely new enemy, and he's the worst part of the entire mod. He is a shadow zombie who is completely impervious to damage and will one-shot you when he gets close. Like, one-shot, meaning you go through going down, you just die. The shadow zombie is actually named the Howler, but it, I'm calling him the shadow zombie. You can only see him when you shine your flashlight on him. This also slows him down. The part that makes this enemy balanced is the sound he makes. The SCP-096 sound. But there are a lot of problems. First, he's too quiet. He does have an identifiable sound, but if there's chaos happening, you just can't hear him. Second, you can barely see him even with the flashlight. His shadow blends in perfectly with the rest of the pitch black atmosphere, which I guess is the point, but that doesn't make it fair. Or maybe it's not meant to be fair, I don't know. Third, he one-shots instantly. I mean, what a punishment for a zombie that's completely invisible and you can barely hear. The first time we died to the shadow zombie, we literally had no idea what just happened.
Wait, what? 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 What even happened?
Everyone just died.
You'd think a threat like that would be clearer, but no. Fourth, he only has one weakness. But he could still kill you, and it doesn't keep him stunned for too long. Fifth, he's completely luck-based. If he spawns in an open area, you're probably good. But if he spawns in an enclosed area, it's basically GG. He can block ladders and completely shut down a run, simply because he spawned at the wrong place at the wrong time. And if he spawns along with the tank, now that is quite a bad combo. I don't hate the idea of this special infected, and he wouldn't even be that bad if he was just more obvious and killable. But right now, he's just a cheap gimmick.
Got him!
Well, I guess my video is outdated. The mod creator actually made the shadow zombie killable. When you light him on fire, instead of him being stunned, he actually chases you, but will die in a minute, which I think takes way too long, but I'll take what I can get. Now, if he updates the shadow zombie to be louder and more apparent, then I think I'll be okay with this edition. If you're playing with bots, they will actually shoot him, which will give you an idea of where he is. Unfortunately, the bots will not avoid him either, so once you get the hang of the shadow zombie, he's manageable, especially now that he can be killed. At least he doesn't spawn often. Sometimes he doesn't spawn at all. And I'll give the mod creator some credit. He made it so that the shadow zombie cannot spawn during finales, which is great, because if he could, yeah, that's pretty bad. If there's one thing this zombie teaches you, everyone should always be carrying a Molotov at all times. Fun fact, if you have God mode on, the shadow zombie can still pounce on you like the jockey can. Yes, there is no jockey in this mod, which is probably for the best. I can't imagine what a jockey would be like in this mod. And then we got the poster girl of the mod, the witch. And she's very, very different. The way she's triggered is so confusing to me. According to the mod page, the witch aggroes as soon as you get close enough, or if she hears you. And it's instantaneous too. She doesn't slowly get up, she instantly gets off her ass to chase you. And when she kills you, she doesn't stop there. Instead of running away in fear, this witch goes on a rampage and kills everyone else. And you cannot sneak past her because she detects you from a million miles away. So you are forced to deal with her. Luckily, she doesn't have much health, so she can be killed easily if you focus fire. But if she catches you off guard, which she probably will, it's pretty much game over. She can also knock down doors, even the safe house door. When that happened to me, I was more impressed than annoyed. That was a good subversion of expectation. I applaud you, mod creator. The witch is the hardest part of the whole mod. I have so much footage of her killing me over and over and over and over. If any of you ever play this mod, I promise you, most of your deaths will be from the witch. The sitting witch is completely silent, but that's nothing new.
What?
The standing witch at least makes some noise.
Child. Anyway, so
the witch herself can blend in with the other infected, and since the mod is so dark, you'll probably accidentally shoot her. You can't get close enough to crown her, and when she is chasing you on a ladder, she will actually push you out of the way, which means you can't just camp at the top of a ladder anymore. If you thought that wasn't enough, don't worry, it keeps going. Whenever the witch gets activated, a panic event occurs every single time. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the witch is slightly faster than the normal witch, but what do I know? She definitely is the most nightmarish thing about this mod. So again, I applaud you. You made the witch a force to be reckoned with. I am not even mad. The only thing you could have done is buff the witch when she is on fire. Yeah, Molotovs are still extremely effective against her, so that's another reason to carry Molotovs at all times. The tank is a little different, but he's not on the same level as the witch. There are a few changes though, such as the tank punching you away on expert. He also swings faster than normal. With almost no wind-up time, the tank throws his rocks instantly and quietly, which makes it a lot harder to dodge, but it's still possible as long as you aren't close to him. I think he has more health too, but he still dies pretty fast with the Molotov, so he's nowhere near as much of a threat as the Shadow Zombie and the Witch, but that doesn't mean he's a pushover either. In the base game, you can hear the tank before you approach him, but of course, he is silent, like everything else. See, there is a reason why Left 4 Dead 2 has sound cues, and it's to avoid situations like that. This mod sacrifices so much for the sake of adding more horror to the game, but is it really worth it? The hardest mod in Left 4 Dead 2. Are you sure about that? I don't know why people throw this title around so lightly. You wanna know the hardest mod? Try Insurmountable difficulty, or Professional realism. The Nightmare mod is hard, but it's not as hard as some people are saying. Yes, pretty much everything one-shots you, but you also one-shot the zombies. And once you figure out how overpowered the Sniper and Magnum is, the mod becomes much easier. But seriously, the true difficulty from this mod is the RNG. RNG. Sometimes it comes down to where the shadow zombie spawns, or if a witch just so happens to be around a corner, or a tank that spawns alongside the shadow zombie. Most of your game overs will come from these 3 infected, and most of the time there just isn't anything you can do. I guess the mod is difficult in other ways too. Smokers pull you much faster, and if you get freed while being dragged, your character will get up off the ground instead of immediately being on their feet. Common infected no longer grants you iframes when they hit you, which means that a horde of them beating on you will kill you as fast as it looks. Common infected hitting you from behind drops your weapon. These are just a few small examples. I think the biggest factor in difficulty is actually a new mechanic, limited continues, which is exactly what it sounds like. If you team wipe 3 times, you will be forced back to the main menu and will have to play the campaign all over again. That sounds rough, but there is some compensation. If you manage to beat a chapter with all 4 survivors, the mod will reward you with another continue, which is actually a very nice addition. That alone provides so much value to the defib despite being nerfed. It also encourages you to take it slow and work as a team. I actually really like this mechanic. It adds stakes and makes the game much harder and stressful. This mechanic is probably the scariest part of the whole mod. And speaking of horror, you know what? It just didn't work for me. Making Left 4 Dead 2 scary is just too hard. It's like cooking without a fire. The Nightmare mod's big selling point is horror. That's why it's in bold in the collection description. But it's not scary, not even close. And for the record, I know horror is subjective. I'm sure this will scare people out there. I'm just not one of them. In fact, the only thing that scared me in this mod is that limited continues mechanic. I get it. Scary music, a dark setting, scary, cry of fear monsters. You can remove all the voice lines, all the charm, dim the lighting, but it won't change the fact that Left 4 Dead 2 at its core is just a funny game to play with friends. Playing this mod left me feeling all kinds of emotions. Anger, frustration, happiness, joy, but I never felt fear. And frankly, I just don't think it's possible. Maybe it's because I've played Cry of Fear a million times. Maybe it's because I've already got 4,000 hours in this game. Or maybe I'm just the type of person who doesn't scare easily. But I can still respect what the mod creator was going for. This mod is not good, in my opinion. At first, it's fun because it offers a new and fresh horror experience to Left 4 Dead 2, but that wears off quickly because of the plethora of issues there are. The unbalanced weapons, frustrating gimmicks, unnecessary changes to gameplay, the awful sound design, and many more. You can have a mod that radically changes the game like this and have it be good, but this mod doesn't benefit the game with most of its changes. I would rather play a version of this mod that keeps the same atmosphere but doesn't change the gameplay at all. I think that'll be a much better Nightmare experience, but what do I know? I'm no modder. I could see why someone would enjoy playing this, but that's just not me. To me, the Nightmare mod was a fun change of pace, but that's it. I can't see myself ever playing this again. I want nothing more than to play normal Left 4 Dead 2. I've had this mod pack installed for 2.5 months. I will give the mod this. It is memorable. I will probably remember it for the rest of my life. What a nightmare.